start recording. Okay. So, if you can see, this is the concept. So, here's what. Okay, so first off is like poke phase, and what I wanted to go over with you, because in Brawl, yeah, that says Brawl. In Brawl, there's this big idea of tank trading, where it's like you're here and your backline's all over here, right behind you, and then the tank is here and its backline is right here. And so you start out the fight by, you pressure him, he pressures you. And, that's fine, because you can both do that. The thing that needs to be understood is sometimes, especially in the Ram fight, a lot of times you use all of your cooldowns and immediately run backline, with it completely ignoring this guy, and then he gets to use his cooldowns on your backline for free. And I think there's quite a few times, and I can't show you examples, but post scrim I'll go back over this with you so we can look over it a little bit. But basically, when you have slow, so you have slow, he has slow, and he slows you, and then runs past you, meaning he will get to your backline first, and you will get to his backline second, and he will win. The reason I say this is because there's quite a few times where you're playing a comp such as, say your comp is it's Lucio Kiri versus Juno Brig. Your comp is a lot better at helping you win the fight versus these guys are a lot better at just living. So the way you kind of want to play this is you want to poke out these guys' cooldowns and then go back to pressure the Ram, which is something that you kept, especially in Rinosapi in our game, was one of the things I noticed you were struggling to do, was you would use your cooldowns, start the fight, and the engagement start. And so everyone was going into full Brawl mode. And you would go far away into their backline, and their Ram would just have to go like this far to get on your backline, and they're built to run away from you, and we were not. So my point in all this is that there's a lot of value, especially in these kind of non-linear, like non-mirror comps, of you pressure their backline out, you get amp out, you get the Kiri to TP, and then you just turn right back on the Ram and help your team finish them off. Especially because the comp you were playing was Juno Brig, but also Freya. And this guy is the Freakazoid Logan. And so he is destroying the Ram's armor. So, again, I was talking about this with communication. And what we need to get better. And I think the call needs to be like Ram no armor or something like that. And you hear that call, you should try to turn and punch Ram at least a little bit to try to help finish him off, because your Brig has like a timer that these guys don't. Your Brig has a big timer on her, and she is going to die eventually if we don't kill Ram, or at least pressure him backwards, so that, because realistically, what the Ram was doing was inting and running it down, and you could kill him. But the next step of that is then the Ram will int and then fall back, and it will become a system of turns, which is a very high-level concept of each team getting a turn of when to engage and when to back up. And you either get value of...
that's not what I would call, but yeah.
Yeah, in Overwatch, most people call it a turn. And so... Yeah. The thing is that most fights at elos probably below like high advanced, low expert for like face it levels, is that you most fights are one turn at our level. So it is all or nothing. We either win on the first 3, 2, 1 go, or we lose on the first 3, 2, 1 go. Now this doesn't have to happen, but trying to get better at that helps by making the right decisions turn one, and understanding our turn is not going to work anymore, and giving up the engage. And that's something that you haven't been doing very well, and I think it's just because you don't super know that, and so I'm giving you more awareness of, especially just like try to be cognizant of sometimes you get the Kiri Lucio out, and the value you can get in this comp, I think it was also Genji and Ram. From this comp is mostly pressuring the cooldowns and then turning back on Ram. You get their backline out, because they were playing like Tracer Genji, so they're all inning your backline. So you pressure these two out, and this guy will recall because Freya will poke him, and Genji or Ram, probably Genji, will be the first kill. And then after that, that's when turn probably ends, and you go to turn 2.
Sweet.
So you understand that? And this is also true.
Overwatch 1 is much bigger because like off tank as well, so you can peel.
Right.
So a lot of times your dives would get peeled, so you have to live the dive, then back up a little bit, then re-dive.
Exactly.
So I understand the concept a lot. It's a lot harder in Overwatch 2 because
it is.
It's harder to live. Also,
could I just?
It's very blow up. It's like if I go in, I feel like if I try and live, my support line is just dead. But if it's like this, like if I don't go in as hard, I can just peel myself. I was thinking about this in the shower last night of how much like the tanks, the off tank and main tank have been combined into one thing.
Yeah.
So it feels like there's a lot less peel ability on tanks now.
To a degree, there is. So like it depends on the comp that you're playing. So like D.Va is probably the easiest example of a heavy peel tank. Is you kind of go with your first turn, you go in on a soft dive, and then you use your boosters. So this is first booster's cooldown. You go in. Second booster cooldown, depending on how your first booster went and the pressure you've gotten and their tank in a lot of situations. Booster 2 is kind of unknown. You can go forward or backward. And then booster 3 will likely be the opposite of booster 2. And then normally by booster 3 you're looping back because that's the end of your turn.
Yeah.
So D.Va's a pretty good example of something like that versus someone like Hazard has a bit more of a turn, the turn-wise of he's based on both wall and leap. So normally the first thing you're going to do is look for a wall target and then wall them and then leap on them. And then after that, your next consideration will be your leap cooldown will come out first. And again, it's that same question of should I leap backwards because we are giving space, especially your backline, or am I going to just kind of leap neutrally, up and down, kind of not give or take too much space, but try to still get some damage off, or leap deeper in, such as when you have like a tracer and then you can super engage. Haz is probably the most like confusing one because it requires a bit more communication from your backline, and that's something that I think we should get better at is informing you.
Our backline needs to talk more.
Yes, I don't disagree.
They talk so much to me. Now it's like they're kind of just quiet.
Deli's
doing a good job in scrim. I think when I asked her to talk about speeds, it helped out so much for me.
Yes, I will try to help you in the scrims when I'm not playing to try to give you a bit more information on that. But I'm going to try to be leading through example rather than doing it for them as well, and I will try to.
That's something that won't happen overnight, but
yes, it's a difficult thing to learn.
It'll be night and day if we work on it.
Another big character is, of course, where is this? Ramatra or Ram. Ram's big thing is punches. So punch is what you have to understand the cooldown of. And obviously first set of punches is normally actually the second thing you should do. The first thing you need to do is slow. And based on, again, the tank you're playing against and how much pressure you can just give up determines on whether you should slow backline or slow the tank. Such as when you're playing Ram versus Haz, the slow on Hazard is so punishing, but it's a very short-term solution for a long-term problem. And what I mean by that is that Hazard will probably live the slow unless you have a comp kind of built to explode him. So like say you have like Sojourn. The slow on the Ram or the slow on the Haz is way more valuable than you have if you had Tracer Genji. So
yeah.
So yeah, and this is all to say like your cooldown management and knowing which like your generally most of the tanks have a utility cooldown in some way that can be used offensively or defensively. Diva with Matrix, Ram with Slow, Hazard with Wall, Winston with Bubble. But there's much more clear cut of Diva's defense matrix is kind of used more as a defensive tool. Winston Bubble is generally an offensive tool that he uses selfishly. But yeah, and I think in general that's something that you can do a bit better on, is using those utilities, and then also getting a bit of a timer in your head of how long your backline can just live. Because there's also times where you will go... I talked about it on Diva. Diva's one I think that you need to get this timer in your head more heavily. It's the thing of when you're on Diva, you are on like a more of a counter dive comp than a dive comp. And so my biggest problem is when you play Diva and you like to go Diva, and I'm okay with that. But you go Diva in place of a character like Hazard, Winston, or Brawl, trying to go super deep. And that's not really what Diva does. Diva's kind of a glorified, almost like a Ram, I say would be the closest thing, but even that's a little far out there. Of like the hierarchy, I would say is like the super slow tank Orisa.
She's a mobile Orisa.
Yeah, a bit of a mobile Orisa. Orisa's the super slow.
Which is how I actually like. I prefer to play her that way. I've been trying especially this most recent patch, because we were playing against the Divas a lot, and Logan and everyone was like complaining about how much she's doing. Well, I was like, okay, well, let me try that out.
The reason that Diva was doing so much in these games, I know why, is because we almost always want to go first. One thing we love to do is go first. We like to go in, and then we like to keep going in until we win or lose, no matter what. And that's okay on some maps, such as like Gibraltar is a great example of a map where you can go in and then just keep going because there's enough safe rotational angles for your backline to go where you can go in and then keep going, and the space you gain by just going in is enough for your backline to rotate. However, there's maps like Suravasa where there aren't those rotation angles. There aren't those easy rotations, especially for a backline like the Ana Lucio or the Juno Brig, where you can't... One of them has a lack of vertical mobility. The Ana or the Brig, that is kind of the essential part of... The Ana is the clear-cut engagement tool of nade, and Juno needs the Brig to live. So those kind of comps, they're very valuable, but they do lack a lot of that thing. Hold on, can I just... Oh, I can. Okay. They lack that value of just very easily being able to just move around vertically. But there are some maps where on a Brig can just rotate around, like Gibraltar is a good example, or Ilios, where the sight lines are very good for Ana, where she doesn't have to move too much in an unsafe location. And I say this because there's a lot of times where you like to go before the engage is set up. Like you say points like here, you're set up here, and your backline is here on Suravasa first. So we want to go either here or here. But the
top Suravasa again.
Suravasa is the Indian one. It has the two high grounds like this.
What game mode is it?
Flashpoint.
So it's the first point where I think I know what we're talking about. Where we TP on like the low ground side.
Yeah, we like to TP and we like to do that thing.
Okay.
But I'm talking about this is on a retake.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Especially
I was just.
So on a retake, so this is your Ana Brig, or your Ana Lucio, and we want to get to these locations first to set up. The big problem is that especially the game where we played. Problem is they would use Sojorb, and then they would use Haswall, and then we were ready. Because they would use these two really important cooldowns, and then we were able to still set up because they didn't pressure us enough because we had enough movement and enough, like, you know, mechanical skill to pressure them back and not give it. The issue was that when Soj would orb was the same time you would go in. And not giving enough time for some cooldowns was sometimes something you were dealing with, that it felt like you were going in and then we weren't there, and then you would die and then we would die, and then it was like a 2-fight point where and so, and I'm just like letting you know this because there was I'm telling you this because I can't show you the VOD, and I would have showed you this in the VOD. But the point is just like sometimes giving your backline enough time to just rotate and get enough time to like get around, because it's pretty difficult when you don't have just the easy big man give us free space by exist. So with Brawl, we need a good amount of time to set up, or we need to swap the comp and get off Brawl.
Part of my concern is I definitely hear you, and I honestly agree with you. My concern is that I go in because, like, oh fuck, if I don't go in, they'll just run on my supports and we'll lose before I go. So I want to like go plan and help, because I in my mind I'm helping you guys get there, which I realize now if I die, it's like the point is moot, right?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to do.
I think I just have to adjust my timing.
Yeah. The other thing is that
if we can get better at calling tempo, besides just me, it would be
yeah. Because I'm bad at it when I'm on Fuck support, but I'm a lot better on it on main support.
Yeah, I got you.
So that's probably like the biggest reason, is that I kind of know what we should be doing on Flex support, but I'm like way too focused on my own positioning and my own mechanics that I feel like I can't really communicate that well, and then I get frustrated because I can't communicate very well. Like, I know what needs to happen, but I can't say it because my mind is already so jumbled. I'm very flustered.
I get that. So off-take things.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, so like the other thing is that you went for, I'm talking about this fight. So we were set up here, and I believe you engaged from main. And there would be times where honestly, if you just went this way, through this like little, I don't know what to call it, like the kiosk where both teams have one over here. This one.
It's like I'm like next to the outside part.
It is like a mini.
It's like if you're playing comp, it's where everyone walks through.
Yeah. So if you went through that, it would actually give us a bit more of an angle on the engage, because if you go through here, we need to set up on one of these wide angles to see you and see the engage and get the nade angle. Whereas if you set up here and like some a little closer, I can actually see through this angle. Which there's a lot of angles here. I know that's confusing, but going a little closer to where we're set, because if you're going from here, if we were set up here, you're going from here when we're set up here, makes it a bit more struggle. Does that make sense?
The idea does. Am I on there? I'm on their side of the map, right?
Yeah, you're on their side. You're
saying if I go from their like little hut room.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the biggest thing is that I'm just gonna delete all of this.
Are you guys trying to rotate to outside or to the room?
Okay, so you
had two lines going left and right. Was you guys going like far right to the outside
here's the
area?
Point. This is the little box. We're trying to be on the outside through here, because this was death zone through hazard. So we need the long angle, and you were coming from over here.
And you need me to go more to the right.
And if you came from this way, it displaces them in a way that also disables them from, like, they now can't just look either, like, they can't just ignore you and walk this way. They have to get booped backwards this way, and we get to walk this way. Versus the other angle, where if we were coming from this way and we have these like stairs on both sides, we would get the angle here, and I would like you to roll either through us back to here, or go top and slam on top.
While on your LLS.
Yes. Because there was quite a few, and also, I mean, and then this is also true on like them re-engaging. So here, once again, this is the point. Backline set up here. You like to go when they're still outside. When I feel like the kill box is them walking through choke.
Okay.
because the choke allows us to see them, and again, nade angles, and allows us
Yeah,
to then...
and they can't hide
Yeah,
either.
because then we can rotate around and meet you here once we've given space this way. Or go low ground, or just try to hold this angle. You know, we have a lot of options if we engage from choke versus if we don't, and you guys don't get an insta-kill right here, or even multiple insta-kills. Say they're playing, I don't know, Hazard, Tracer, Sojourn, Lucio, and Kiri. Say you kill Tracer on this engage. They still have all the necessary resources to walk at our backline and trade us, because they still have the Soj. And so we can't just sit here, but we could kind of just walk downstairs because we're up one and slowly pressure out the Hazard. That's kind of our option. Versus, if you pick Sojourn, we have a lot more ability. We're going to get pressured from this angle or this angle by the Tracer. And so we're going to have to probably back out this way or back 2 point, which is very dangerous. Because those are pretty much our only options. Or back the other angle that Tracer's going. Anyway. But so, yeah, Servos is kind of a whole heap of... I feel like we probably just need to get better at the Hazard comp more than try to practice more ball. Because I think the ball is good if we're going to dive mirror. But I don't think dive mirroring is always the solution or even good for us due to one big important factor. And I want to actually talk about this as the comps we play and why we play them. Because we have like probably 4 main comps that we play. We have the Ball, the Haz, the General Brawl, which could be like... I'm gonna fuck up. General Brawl, which could be Orisa, Ram, kind of whatever tank, or Malga. Whatever tank is like generally the favored Brawl tank, or just a Winston. And like these I feel like are really good for us. The thing is that knowing when and why we're playing them, I think is something we need to look into as a general idea, because the Ball comp is very simple. However, it has the biggest weakness we have is that our hit scan player is on Tracer, hit scan plays Tracer, and then Garrett is kind of left out to dry. That's probably the biggest problem with Brawl. So we need to figure out some way to either circumvent the fact that we're playing double flex, or start practicing log, hit scan, G-man, Tracer. Are my main 2 solutions. And also I think Ball is mostly in the current pool only really good based on our scrims on Jib and Ilios.
He's kind of in that like Doom Junker Queen spot right now, I feel.
A little bit.
He's good if you're good at it.
He's been slowly lessened out. And I think that these are the only 2 maps where I think Ball's like usable. I think Haz is a good option. Oh, also we have Sig. Forgot about Sig. Sig comps. Haz, and honestly Winston is kind of similar. They play the same similar, but the issue with Winston is it has the same issue of Ball, but to a lesser degree because we have the Genji. Don't know what that J is. Don't question it. The Genji is good with Winston and Haz, and we can swap between hitscan and Tracer without much issue. So but the problem is with Ball, Genji doesn't work very well. And so I feel like Ball only can really come out on maps where Genji isn't the best pick. Haz Winston I think is really good on high ground favored maps. So pretty much every control type to a degree. Pretty much every hybrid map that is in the pool is pretty good for these 2. And then Winston's better on Gibraltar than Hazard, I'd say, but Gibraltar I put in there. And then both push maps. So like these 2 are probably the most like the best comps to play right now, I think, for us. Because it gets rid of a lot of our issues. General Brawl, I think, is really good when we are playing a team that is just kind of shutting down our tank. So I think we should start by defaulting right now to Winston Hazard and then go to Brawl. I'm going to get rid of Winston. Then Sig is pretty good on Circuit Royale. There's not, and then also Midtown.
Winston Hazard, then to Brawl. Okay.
I like the ball on Jib and Ilios though a lot. Especially Ilios, but I think this is the fallback of when ball stops working, go to Winston. When Winston stops working, go to Brawl.
We have to play Ilios in the scrim. I have to be there when we play Ilios in the scrim. I feel like I've not played Ilios in a minute. Like, because I asked her like tons.
I will show you a couple good things about thing. I'm gonna boot up the game and show you a couple of things, but I'm just kind of doing a general VOD review with you. But yeah, and so Sig is pretty much just like on these two maps. We play at Pokey because Poke is good. However, I think something I know you don't love the character, but I think there's quite a few times when on Sig, you can also just swap over to Ram.
Yeah, like especially like Junker Town. I feel like I have to play
New Junk
Ram.
City. Yeah.
No, Junker Town.
That's not.
This isn't
cool.
comp.
I get that.
I get the idea. Like
it's just.
It's not that I don't like Ram.
Sig is just ultra poke.
I
damage.
don't understand how to get value from the character.
Ram.
I feel once I get over that
Rams,
once I get over that hump, I feel I would actually enjoy him a lot.
Well, here I can kind of run it down for you here, really quick. In my perceived opinion of Ram, so Ram has, like, his main is two forms. So there's, poke form, and then there's brawl form. And the reason Ram is good in place of Sig is because he has the poke to match Sig to a degree. It's not as good as Sig. It's not as consistent as Sig. But he has poke, he has range, and he has a shield.
Yeah. Stay on the corner.
So you can stand on the corner and poke a bunch and hold the space. And so Ram's, I think his big important thing is space. And understanding where and when you can take and give space. Ram's biggest weakness, on the other hand, in my opinion, is kind of at the same time his biggest strength. It's space. He doesn't have the greatest ability to just win once he has the space. It's a lot of slow, methodical gaming. So he's got the shield, and the biggest thing is his slow. His slow sets tempo very, very heavily. So you can either use slow and poke to try to shut down a DPS on the flank, or something like that, or it can use it in the brawl form and use it to slow down the tank or the back line and trying to get them. And then he has punches and block. And the other thing that Ram's really good at, because of block and because of instantly spawning health when he swaps to the thing, is living. So Ram isn't the killing machine of Hazard, of Ball, of JQ even, of Doom. Ram is really good at just existing. He's not really the main focal point of killing. He does damage, and he does a lot of it.
Well,
but he's not the killer, if that makes sense.
The poke I understand, the living I understand based off his kit. What do I do in the brawl? Like, what's my, like...
Well, this is what I was talking about. So say you're set up Juno, Brig, Freya...
Yeah. You're talking about how I was slow the tank or slow the back line.
Genji, and then Ram.
Force abilities out, then look back and peel for tank, peel for team.
Yeah. So you don't always have to do that. That's the thing, is that...
just like look to see if they need it.
Well, because here's the thing, is that the thing that team likes to do a lot is just super group into one big zone. And this isn't always the best for you, because you can just start way up here. And here you can fake an engage basically in the brawl. You can force them that they either have to super walk on your back line, super far, and you can slowly back when, especially imagine Runosabi. You know how it's like the big U shape, and then it goes like wraps like this, right?
The push map.
Push map. It has the like slopes.
This U shape you're talking about, like the first where the bot starts.
Yeah, like for the bot starts here, and it gets down to here for checkpoint. So your team can set up here. Imagine you're trying to push first. So your team's set up here, and you can be pushing bot all the way up. And then they will round the corner, and you can kind of slowly give the backspace to give your Freya a great engage angle, while your Genji goes on an off angle. And you don't have to form. Unless you get pressured, you don't really need to form. You can kind of just exist. Get the heals from your Juno, kind of chill. Then your Genji could call X is low. And depending on where you're set up, if you're too far, like here, so say you're like right here, right as the car's about to checkpoint, you're too far up probably, and you got to tell your Genji, like, don't go in, we're too far up, because then your backline has to just come at you, and it gives it the idea of the comp. And this is kind of a general thing that we do a lot, and then we get the positioning well, but we don't do the execution of the positioning, where we can take this really long off angle, right, or really long main angle, and then take a short off angle to try to pressure the backline. And again, the biggest thing is that you can't get baited around this corner because of where you're set up.
Yeah.
You can pressure them, but there's a point when it's like, oh, I'm either half HP or I'm too far around the corner. And you got to just kind of turn back up and then start to pressure, like, backline. Or, I don't know if pressure, but, like, your Freya's here. So you're here as Ram, and so is the Carp. And so you slow the Lucio. You then can form. So you put slow here on the Lucio, and the Genji comes from right here. And you punch the Lucio, and you've gotten your value. You immediately have must back. Does that make sense? Because generally the Juno ring will probably reach like here, and so you'll get the speed, you'll kill the Lucio, and then you back, and you don't drop form, you just punch the tank until form ends, and you boom, 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 because that's pressuring the tank back. Yeah. And your Freya, they're trying to walk at, will then suddenly there will be two angles where the tank is getting boom, 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 and then pow, 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 and fucking owned. And it's just like, and then you win they no longer have speed. You've won the engage, you've won your turn, and they didn't even get one. And now you can reset, chill, poke at the tank, and either they're gonna back around the corner, which will be a very hard challenge without speed, or you'll poke them out and win. Your Genji might get traded, or one of your supports might get traded, but that's okay. Because the main thing is that you are now made it a 4v5, and you have speed advantage, and that's what really should matter there. And of course, this is an ideal dry fight, but there also can be ults involved where you get the Lucio, or you want to pressure the Lucio because he has beat, or you want to pressure the Genji because he has blade, or you want to pressure the Ram because he has form, or you want to pressure the Ram because it's more of a dry fight, but their Ram has been more of the problem for your backline. He's been getting good speeds and been getting engages, so you want to slow the Ram instead. It's all about like who are you slowing and who is the target priority. That's what you have to decide, and that's on you. Because this brings me to like the final point of really what I want to talk about, is fight planning. And something that I want every single person on our team to do better. Because I think there are probably 5 stages of fight planning, maybe 6, that we need to get better at. The first thing, start of the fight, is ult tracking. You gotta know what ults are happening. What ults? You're pretty good at asking for that, and sometimes teams just gotta be able to just say it. And eventually, I want what you to stop doing is saying ult ? And just the team getting good at doing it automatically.
Yep. Yep.
Then the next thing is your ults. Is the other end. Ults again. But this time your ults. What ults do you have? And then the next part, this part should borderline, these two things should already run through your mind before the first fight or whatever fight you're happening has ended. You should already know this. Generally, the thing is, like you wrapping up the fight, you're killing the last person or the last two people, that's when that comes out. And then you in your head, once you hear that, look at your ults, and then the fight ends. And now you start the fight plan. And the first thing is, what ult are we going to use? Or what's the macro idea of it? What are we going to do? Do we have Genji ult? Are we going to Genji? What are we going to do? The next thing is eco, which is something we do not do at all, is thinking about when and why we use our ults. And it doesn't make... The eco might not be the right word, but the idea is...
It's ult economy.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like,
the biggest thing that... The
they have
biggest,
4 ults, we only have 1. We're not going to win this fight.
let's try to draw ults out. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the first idea is, what are we going to use? But the next question is, how? How are we going to use it? And something that we really suck at is, especially, we like to just... Oh, we have 2 ults, let's combo them. This is bad. We should not always do that. We like to combo or call for combos a lot. And there are a lot of times where we can win a fight without comboing. Especially when we have Rush or Ray. These 2 ults do not need a combo. Rush and Ray should be good enough on their own to just win a fight. Nano is another example of... Nano might just, depending on their economy, Nano alone might be good enough to win a fight. Or, depending on the thing of, should we use a combo, such as, Nano Blade, but they have beat. So let's just start the fight off with Blade and try to win with Nano. Because the thing is that we're baiting out their better ult with our worse ult. And if we don't get beat out, and we still get a kill, even if it's not on the Lucio, the Nano will still be more valuable. What we like to do is just draw a Nano Blade in, and it's not like Overwatch 1 Nano Blade or Overwatch 1 combos, where you will just delete them all instantly, because Blade is not a one-shot anymore, Blade does not get that much value anymore, it is really good still, but it's not like the Ultra Instinct fight winner. And so the reason I say eco is just deciding, say we have Ram ult, Sojourn ult, and Nano. What's your first instinct to do? And your other 2 characters are, let's just say Lucio and Genji. What would be your instinct to do?
Ram, Sojourn, Nano. Let's see. Instinct. I think it'd be really, really easy for me just to fight plan, to use my ult, to play like a little aggro, and then use it to save my life. Although we want Nano on cooldown as much as possible. So I would say Ram and Nano, but not together. Like, keep it. I can ultra sustain with Ram first and then Nano, or vice versa.
Well, here's what I would say. My first argument is that Ram ult, to a degree, is kind of like Diva Bomb.
Yeah, it's not fight winning. It's
not fight winning. You should use it as late as possible. Because it is just, for the most part, a lot of Ram value with his ult is... The part of it is, for the low level teams, is going to be just fear. Big scary purple thing.
Yeah.
For lower level teams. But then the other thing is just 300 HP. That's all. That's most of the value of Ram ult. Over just normal forming, the little tick damage that you get is just inconsequential. You don't do more damage otherwise. You don't get more speed. Nothing else changes. You just get an extra 300 HP.
Do you get punchy form?
You also get punchy form for longer. This is true. but not always, and it depends on the
Yeah,
comp. It's basically an extra punchy form more than anything. It's an extra life.
Exactly.
So my argument here would actually be combo Soj Nano. And I know I just said don't combo things, but Soj Nano, unlike Nano Blade, is a guarantee one-shot. And one-shot valuable. One-shot good. And especially if we have Logan who says, I'm confident we can Nano Soj, we should do that.
Yeah, it's not a one-shot for me because I don't hit those shots.
Yes, but we have big log gamer.
We got alien.
The other thing I would say is Nano Genji on our engage and Soj ult to close the fight out if necessary. Genji, again, very valuable nano target that we do not utilize enough. And the other thing is we don't have Blade yet. So we can use Nano, build Blade.
Yeah.
And then Soj ult is kind of the very powerful ult that I always think that you should use mid-fight. Unless you are comboing it, it should be used mid-fight. Versus if you combo it, I think it should be the engage tool. And this is also saying whether or not we are...
A lot of what I also do, because I have imperfect information. Is everyone else at 0% on our team? Or are we like close to something else?
Yeah, that's the question. And there's always stuff like that to think about.
Because if I do think about ult economy a lot when I try to fight plan or ult plan, because like Sojourn and Nano are two very like expensive ults. If you want to if we're talking about economy, they're expensive. Ram's kind of cheap. So if like we're close to something else, I can save Ram and we'll get another ult for the next fight. I'm cool with using Soj and Nano. Whereas if we're realistically not going to build another ult in this next fight, I want to keep the Soj or the Nano for the next fight. Ideally, is what I would be thinking. Which is why I've planned it the way I planned it.
That's the other thing.
But I do agree.
Another thing I think that we should use Rush Ray for more is to build other ults, because we. Like, say we had, the classic, Ram, Genji, Sojourn, Brig, and Juno. Okay, those are terrible.
Crazy.
Juno. Box. Okay, so, and we have Juno ult. So, we have it. Brig is like 60. Sojourn is like 60. Genji has ult. And Ram is like 30. What I would argue the best course of action here is to just Juno, and probably, even if losing, not Blade. The reason I say that is because then you can build these two ults in a guarantee and cycle a Soj ult mid-fight, Genji ult engage. Or Genji ult engage, Brig ult mid-fight. And then the next fight after that, you will probably build a rank. Because my always expectation is generally most fights that happen, you should build somewhere between 30 and 40% ult. Generally. So I expect most ults to come online every 3 fights. Some ults probably more frequently, like Freya or like Trips or Pulse Bomb. They'll come up more commonly. But I think our fight plan here should be Juno ult. Just Juno ult, and set up in a aggressive way to try to punish them if there is a choke, to punish them with Ram form and Juno with a Genji engage, and kind of leave our Sojourn to build Ray on a long angle. So punish them in choke and then run through choke, which then brings me to part 4, staging. Something that we almost never get to. The idea of play aggressive or play defensive, or it's just a standard neutral fight. Most of our fight plans don't get to the point where we describe how we're going to execute it and in a tempo way. So we just kind of set up in the same way every fight, no matter what we're doing, which is kind of like it means they never really know what we're going to do because they don't know how we're positioned, but it doesn't feel like we can execute sometimes because we're positioned wrong. And this part is partially a communications error and partially a team not know where to play error. And so what I want is for more often than not to get through this first 4 steps quickly, as quick as possible. And so we have enough time to then stage for the next fight. Because it doesn't feel like often we have enough time before they're already walking in, and then a lot of the time when we're ult planning, or like true fight planning, we get to stage 4 and we finish it up and they walk in and ult us and we lose. It happens quite a bit. And so then the stage 6 is just execution. Just, will we do it correctly? And so there's a lot of fights where I feel like in these 6 steps, we managed to do probably on average 4 of them. And a lot of the times we win the fight where we skip one of the first 4, but get to the next 2. Versus when we properly go down the slope at every single one, but then don't get to execution because we're not staged very well. And so there's really 2 solutions. Either we stop like ult tracking as much or do it as quickly as possible. Just be like, what else do they have? Brig Juno. Next step. What else do we have? Genji Juno.
So I think another thing that we ult track every fight. However, we don't always do it quick enough. But I think we do a majority of fights. The thing we don't do is we ult track and then we kind of just forget about it. We don't really think about what they're doing. It's like, okay, cool. They have 5 ults. Cool.
Well,
let's what do we do, dude?
The biggest thing is that
I'm cool with it. Trying to. Sorry, go on.
Well, the thing is that a lot of it actually is kind of on you.
Mm-hmm.
And team can pitch in, but what I would like from a tank player generally is a confident leader. And one of the best ways you can show that you're a confident leader and you're confident in your team is setting up plans that are either risky or incredibly solid, like should never fail. Like, very simple one would be they dry fight, you dump 5, you should win 100% of the time. Very simple idea, but it's not always going to happen. It's also not the best economy-wise, but it's a guaranteed fight win. So, and there's stuff like that. Like, there's been times where there are, like, okay, so think about it like this. We are 99% on a flashpoint, and we are 2-0. It is last fight, and we have 5 ultimates. What we like to do is try to gamble winning off of this, even if the other team has 4 or 5 or 3, versus we could just lose the fight, completely dry fight it, and burn some of these. Especially if they're going to, because a lot of teams will burn their big ult when it's a must-win fight, like Rush, like Ray. These 2, I think, are synonymously the best 2 ults in the game right now. And so, what I'm trying to get at is that what I want you to do is to try to, once fight ends, is to make a plan in your mind. And if you can, maybe even do it without ult tracked, not knowing what they have.
I think that's what I'm starting to do.
Is try to once the fight ends.
It takes so long for me to like think about what ults they have and then counterplay. Whereas if I just think about
what ults do you have and where to stay, because I think it's a lot less important to counterplay ultimates.
Yeah.
As it was in Overwatch 1, because you don't have the diva every time to eat the grab or you don't have the shatter blocking ability every time. You can't always just counter an ult, except for using another. He's generally the best. So it's like, and it's even better to then just win with it. And so what I would like is for a fight plan to happen, and then ult track. Which basically,
I'm cool with that.
And so what I would like to do next scrim, and we're not going to do it in the game. I want us to do it next scrim that we're going to do on Friday. Is the first thing I want to happen is you fight plan every fight, no matter what. Secondly, I'm going to tell Jake and the rest of the team that we are going to try to ult track last, which sounds counterintuitive, but that means that we have an idea and we can then tweak and edit the fight very vaguely on the plan, knowing what I'll say. Like, say they have fucking Ray or something. Like, we're like, oh shit, we should play slow before engaging with our ult just to try to bait ults. Right? And so we can use our initial engage will happen slower, and we can bait a little longer. And if they don't ult, by the time they get into the spot where we want to kill them, we go. So I want that. And then I want a consistent lack of communication. Or consistent system. So here's what I want to happen. What I want you to do on tank is make the first target call. Wherever we're going on first, and it should be part of the fight plan of where they have a team of setup and they have 5 players, and this is the first person we're going on. And then the next step in the fight plan should be the fallback target of, oh no, we forced out X cooldown. We can, like, say we go on Kiri first to force cleanse, and then we go on Soj. Right? So then, go on Kiri, force TP, then go on Soj. Then, that's the idea. That's what might be, what we want to happen in an ideal world. Then, I want G-Man and Logan to then call what actually happens. So we're going to first engage on Kiri, and whatever Logan and Garrett call is the next, once Kiri has been forced out, or whatever we're doing, whatever Logan calls, say, hey, Lucio is now cut off, and I have him low, you and these two all go on whoever's called. And so I want my back line of, say we have me and Jake, the 2 Js, not to speak. Only to each other will we speak. And most communication will be between us. So then, you 3, as the front line, will have a consistent system of communication.
Mm-hmm.
So, you call the engage, they call the fight. What I'm asking of you in this is to not call mid-fight. And to try to allow Logan and Garrett to call the target follow-ups. Now, not every comp will be like this, but I want us to play comps that are like this. Like the Has, really, I want us to play Has, Soj, Genji, Lucio, Kiri a bit more. And if Lucio Kiri is the comp I will not be playing, it will be Deli instead. I don't play Kiriko. I pretty much proved that in our game to myself that I should just not play if Kiri's an option, because both Busan and fucking Suravasa were terrible games for me. Probably the worst I've had in a while, because Ana got countered and I don't have a Kiriko. You know?
Mm.
And as much as there's really either 2 options. Well, there's 3 options. Either I don't play, we comp swap around me, or I learn Kiriko. Those are the 3 options. And right now, I think the easiest one is that I don't play if Kiriko is being played. It also allows me to coach a bit easier and give more of a third-person perspective. Because, I mean, I'm the best one at it out of the 4 possible people that won't play and support, basically. So yeah. But all this to say is that what I want to happen first. Oh my god. Okay. This annoys me, and I was trying to fix it, but whatever. G, L, J, J. What I want to happen is then eventually me and Jake reintroduce communication with each other. And then we introduce a communication with you where we inform you of the situation that's happening with us. I think the biggest thing that we need to take this one step at a time. Because if we try to do it all at once, it's gonna fucking malfunction and shit's gonna go wrong. So the very basic first thing that I want is for you to call first target and DPS to call follow-ups.
Yeah, the rest.
Yes. Mid-fight. And you could call like X is low, but if they don't immediately if they don't immediately say the character you're on or the person that you see is low, you're back on the right person. That's what's got to happen to make this all work. Is that even if something's low, you can't hyper focus on it because everybody does it. It's everyone in the world will look at that person that is low instead of looking at the target that's called, and that is the difference between like great teams and good teams. Is the target prioritization, the target focus that happens, and trusting each other's calls. So, because eventually I would like, I want everyone's voice to be heard, and I feel like all that's happening when we comm is yelling out which one of us 5 is on the person, unless we happen to be in sync based on like the right vibes, things don't go well for our like dives and our engages,
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's just like, it's very good when it's just you and Logan. You and Logan engages work very well, right? Because they tend to, because it's just two people communicating with each other. But you add that third person in, and you don't know quite who is the main leader, and the other one's following up of. So I would think, depending on the comp, it would generally be Logan calls low HP targets with hit scan, Garrett calls who he's on based on Logan's calls, and you call whether you can follow up or not.
Mm-hmm.
And the first engage is you call who we're on, or Logan calls somebody low, you switch targets.
Yeah.
The main thing that and then also there's also the who you call is our target. Then I, as Ana, can more easily nade them, or at least look for the nade. Now, this is the other thing is that what will happen is I will call X is naded, and you guys won't switch. And so then these two need to get better at realizing X is naded and switching, and then you need to get better at then listening to both of us hearing the nade and then following up. It's a whole line of things that's going to happen. But the first idea that I'm going to do, and then I'm probably not going to play for this, because I like to calm a lot. We're going to have a problem if everybody likes to calm, and that Dell calms the least. So she's probably going to play. It's going to be the classic Lucio Kiri backline. and we're gonna play different comps around that. And you'll be the engaged caller, and everything will work. And so then we'll go back to the fight plan, and get back on that. So does that all make sense for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Write it down for me.
All right. I can write all this down. In fact,
would be nice.
New.
Also, make sure we talk about it before the scrim, so we can talk about it while we're all here.
I can go.
Where's the scrim?
We have a scrim Friday. We will scrim Friday and we will scrim Sunday.
I can be there before the scrim.
Cool.
Sunday can also be there before the scrim.
So things to focus on for next scrim. Fights planning. Target A. Initial target. Tank calls. Follow up targets. DPS call. CC'd targets. Supports call. Mainly nade. Mainly nade / sleep. Ult Tracking, Ult Management, Ult Usage. What's after that? Ult Usage, order or win, Ult Usage, or Ult Timing, I guess is what I would say. Positioning or rotation slash positioning into execution. Let me just make a bunch of slashes. Brawl tank points. Heal value isn't always in kills. Space and util is important to track and understand. Don't just run it down without a plan. I think that's the major points. Yeah. All right. Cool.